Hello ladies and gents, and I'd like to introduce you to a time traveller, if you will, a past London resident. This is Spitalfields Lady. When they were doing building work in excavations in the Spitalfields area in 1999, this stone sarcophagus with a lead coffin inside it was discovered. Basically, its contents were really a little message from the past, trapped in time. Now, what they found when they opened the lid of this sarcophagus was this lead coffin, which you can't see it that well on here, but it's got scallop shell patterns on it. And note the gap here. In between that gap was found these items, which is a Roman glass perfume bottle. I'm just checking what they are. It's a pipette, 4th century. This one is a glass phial. 2 is a jet rod and disc, and it's suggested that that rod may have been used to get the perfume out from the bottle or the oils out and rub it on yourself with. 5 is a jet ring, most likely used on a lady's drawstring bag or item of clothing, because buttons didn't exist back then. What we've got here, 4 is a jet decorative ornament. 3 is a jet canister. And you've got additional grave goods, which is organic evidence from the silt, which are bayleaves, textiles. When they discovered this, they discovered still some textiles left on the lady, and it was gold thread was discovered in those textiles, which you can see in this little box there. Those are the gold threads, and that's the bayleaves, and that's what was found in there. And this is the information. Excavations at Spitalfields in 1999 uncovered part of the northern Roman cemetery that lay beyond the city wall at Bishopsgate. Archaeologists discovered an extremely rare limestone sarcophagus that was found to contain a lead coffin and the skeleton of a young woman, a young time traveller. The identity of the young woman remains a mystery. She was in her early 20s and may have come from the western part of the empire. She probably died from an infectious disease. The scallop shell design on the coffin lid and other burial goods all indicate pagan belief in the underworld. Exciting discoveries. I'm just going to pause you a minute, guys and girls. And who they found in that lead coffin was this lady. Believed to be between 18 and 25 years old. I do know a fair bit about this because I've read it myself and whatnot and that, so. Pause to read or take a screenshot. Anyway, dendrochronology from her teeth, I think it's called dendrochronology, done on one of her teeth, which is that missing one there that they took out, shows that this lady actually came from or lived in the city of Rome itself for obviously some time, enough for it to show up in the minerals in her teeth. So now I want you to literally meet the ancestor. This is Spitalfields Lady. This is a reconstruction done from her skull and her face, and these are They've done these on recent people that have died and like been murdered and stuff like that, reconstructed it, and when they've been identified, the families have said that they are good likenesses, so you can rely, this is a fairly good likeness of what Spitalfields Lady would have looked like. So you're coming face to face with a Roman lady that lived in London, a wealthy Roman lady from a wealthy family to be able to afford all this. Any descriptions, pause to read or take a screenshot. Here we see the process of careful excavation. And once they'd got all the muck and everything out, down these gaps there is where they found those objects. I watched this when it happened on the TV, on the news at first, and then on a programme called Meet the Ancestors. And I waited a long time to meet this lady. I should have come before, but hearing that the museum was going to close spurred me in to come in to meet Spitalfields Lady. So you're coming face to face with a Roman lady that lived in Spitalfields in, of course, the Roman era. But what would a life have been like? What would the life of Spitalfields Lady been like? What would Roman London have been like? We're going to go and take a look at that now. So join me for the next part of our video, which is a look into the world of Spitalfields Lady and Roman London and Londoners. Join me all for that part now. Here we see the Thames and the first Roman settlement of London. The Romans were the first people to bridge the River Thames, and this is their London Bridge. So Roman Lady Spitalfields Lady may have come into London by boat, or she may have crossed the bridge.
The final decision is for the show's promoter, the editor, so they will be influenced by the characters and the evidence was found in 1988 by archaeologists who did
And there we've seen some of the scenes of what Spitalfields Lady would have very, very likely seen when she was coming in and out of London. Now, the next part of our video, what was Roman London like, and what was the Spitalfields Lady's London like? So my guys and girls, off into the past we go again. In we go, into a Roman London street. And here we see the glass workshop. Roman lady may well have bought herself some pieces of jewellery and paid with those types of coins there. And the glass blowers art was seen as a magical thing, so she may have even stood a while and watched the masters of the glass doing what they did. Then she moves on. What does she find next, Roman lady, Spitalfields lady? The leather workshop. She has her servant with her. There's some shoes and sandals that need to be repaired. This is where they go. Pause to read any of the descriptions or take screenshots. And Roman lady may have walked back on herself and decided to buy a new glass perfume bottle. They've bought some things, fearing they may have been conned or knocked. They go to the weighing stool. They stand and talk a while with the man. The name of Roman lady isn't known, so I've decided to call her Domina Juliana, which the Latin means Lady Juliana. So, and this is a carpenter's workshop. They may have stood and watched some of the things being made. Juliana's servant girl may have had a soft eye for the carpenter or the carpenter's boy, who knows. Juliana's servant girl has been given orders by the cook to take the knives and have them sharpened. And the noise is pretty good, because Roman London would have been a very noisy, quite smelly place, busy with life. The knives sharpened, they move on. They walk past the builder's yard and watch the men making tiles and building things. See the builder's put his mark upon the tiles, so they know they've come from him, so they know that they're a good tile. There isn't a great deal there to interest Juliana, so she walks on past the wooden beams and wattle walls that made up the homes of Roman Londoners. Juliana wouldn't have known the intricacies of houses and house building. And they stopped by a poor person's home. Juliana's rich, she's lucky. And let's hope that she's kind. And she gives a coin or two and stands and talks a while. And they watch the poor woman preparing the food. Juliana moves on and thanks the goddess that she's not as poor as these people. And now we move into Juliana's world. Juliana's living room, reclining area if you like. It's called a triclinium. Where Juliana will lay on this couch. There'll be other couches because the Romans didn't sit up and eat. They laid down or reclined while they ate their food, and they talked and enjoyed life. Life for Roman women was not an easy one though, because Roman women were seen as very much second-class citizens, even the rich ones like Juliana. So they had to have a place kind of thing and know their place and keep it, which is not nice, but that's the world that Juliana came from. And Juliana has seen some of the things that she likes. They stop a while and they talk with the merchant. And it's from here that Juliana buys her fine gold and a new unguent bottle for herself. The servant says that they need some new lights for the house, so they buy an oil lamp or two. The intricate hairstyles of Roman ladies required lots of hairpins to keep it all in place. Juliana is a clumsy lady and she's lost a few, so they buy some of those. And then they're both hungry by this time. And the Romans had fast food shops just like we did. So this is where they go. They can smell the rich smells of the food and the garum, the fish sauce that the Romans loved, and everything. It stank, but it was well prized and came in these amphorae. What should we call Juliana's servant girl? Because we can't just call her the girl or the servant girl. We'll call her Euphilia. Or no, Eurelia, that'll do. Not Euphilia, that don't sound too good, that does it? They buy something to eat. They stand and talk a while. Juliana meets some friends. And Euphilia sees some servant girls from another house. And they stand and talk. Tired, well fed, they head home. Juliana is lucky, and she thanks the gods every day and makes offerings and sacrifices. Her home is comfortable, she's loved and rich. It's warm because they have underfloor and in the walls heating. Hypocausts, kept warm by the hard work of the slaves that they bought from the slave master at the market. This is the best room in the house, where Juliana and her family sit and entertain guests. Some of the fine things of their world. Juliana doesn't often think of the slaves. She doesn't have to. They do their work, and if they're well treated, they do their work well. She doesn't know the intricacies and the hardships of their lives. She's kept warm. Where the slaves have to work here lighting fires, which will blow the hot air under the floors and up through the walls, through the hypercoarse tiles that we've just seen. Romans liked their luxuries. They had piped water, hot and cold, and heated floors and bathhouses, fine bathhouses. Juliana, her family and friends are all fed and happy, and they decide that they might like to go to the amphitheatre. So the slaves ready, and they bring a litter for Juliana to be carried through the dirty, muddy London streets in. And on their way they pass the watermill, where all the wheat and corn is ground, that makes the bread for rich and poor alike. The miller is a rich man and a big man. But by Roman laws he must be a fair man with his weights and measures, or he'll pay the price. On to the amphitheatre. The year is 150 AD, and they travel through the civic centre of London, fine and rich and well built.
So this is the eastern entrance into the Roman amphitheatre. So behind us is this corridor that takes us off into the city. 7,000 in the arena you have a large oval area of sand, which is where the action takes place, and then around the arena you have tiers of seats, just like you would get in a normal speed skating. So the full day games, in the morning you have the hunting of animals, about lunchtime, execution of criminals, and then in the afternoon you have the gladiatorial combats where you have different gladiators fighting each other. There are different reasons that people might become a gladiator. It might be a criminal sentence, which is...
They pass through the streets and get closer and hear the noise and the roar.
You might just sign up to be a gladiator because you're very poor and you have some prospects and at least it's a very good money. Or you might sign up because you think, oh, it's an exciting lifestyle. In the atmosphere, it would be quite pretty sustainable doing that. Power in the exciting and there are for time numerous reflects and they want to see the things. A really strong powerful water side of their head and they snap to a portion, and then there are some very distinctive forms here, and that's where it's been chewed by the dog. And then this person received many beautiful burns to their head, which was probably their cause of death. So the hair is fluid in this, so part of his cheekbone and the bit above his ear, these are all the brief blows that he's received.
And in they go, onto the amphitheatre. They've seen the fights, the Christians fed to lions, the criminals being executed. They've seen the wild animal fights, they've smelt the blood, they've heard the roaring, and they've enjoyed it. Juliana and her people were a bloodthirsty lot, for all that they liked to say that they were civilised. And after their revellings at the amphitheatre, the smell of blood sticks to them. So they go to the main bathhouse in London, which is here. And there you see the slaves building a new wing onto the bathhouse. You see the underfloor heating being built, the tiles piled up, and the floor would be built over that, and the heat would run under the floor and up through the walls.
In the arena, you have a large oval area of sand, which is where the action takes place, and then around the arena you have tiers of seats, just like you get in the Roman Spitalfields Lady.
The Romans don't have soap, and they have communal baths. The men bath in their bath and the women bath in theirs, and on separate days. And they have a thing called a squidgle and olive oil, which they rub into their skin and scrape off the dirt and oil with a squidgle, and then dry themselves down with rough cloths. Then they'll go into the columbarium and into the plunge pools, the hot and cold plunge pools. The bathhouses, the baths would get quite dirty, and the slaves would have to come in and skim off the muck from the top of the bath. Many diseases were caught. The baths, although looking luxurious, could be a dangerous place, and many people caught diseases from there. Juliana and her family had their bath. A few days later, Juliana starts to feel unwell. The doctors were brought in, the priests called, and offerings were made, but it did little good. Juliana grew sicker and sicker, and sadly she died. Her rich family were grief-stricken at the loss of Juliana, so the servants washed her and prepared her body for burial. Including in with her burial these fine things that they knew she loved and would want to take into the underworld. The gaps of the recess of her coffin were filled with bayleaves and the things that she loved most. And the funeral happened, and then the sarcophagus was sealed up, and our Spitalfields Lady lay in the ground undisturbed for many hundreds of years, until one day she was discovered and became a time traveller of sorts. And that, ladies and gents, is Spitalfields Lady and the life of Roman London. Hope you all enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a like and a share. Thanks very much for watching.